Okay.
Okay. All right, you ready?
It's time. Yep.
Okay.
I can hear the rain again. Baby, I'm looking down back at you. Where you going? Tell me, don't you wanna see it through? Always tearing me apart when your heart goes into silence. And I just wanna hold you when your spirit breaks into. Hey baby, I wanna lift you up. Hey baby, I wanna lift you up. Love lives on forever, the thunder never lasts. So hold on, don't you worry, the sun is coming back. Hey baby, I wanna lift you up. In the distance, I can see it in your eyes, you're fading out. Head is underwater, honey, don't you know you are solid ground? We can head into the dark, and I will follow right beside you. And when the night is falling, won't let it get the best of you. Ooh. Hey baby, I wanna lift you up. Hey baby, I wanna lift you up. Love lives on forever, thunder never lasts. So hold on, don't you worry, the sun is coming back. Hey baby, I wanna lift you up. The sun is coming back. I wanna
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and showing up today. We are still waiting on some people to kind of join me, but I'll go ahead and get started because I want to make sure that we make the best use of our time. This is going to be recorded because there are people that can't make it today, and the whole purpose of today is to bring in as many voices, as many people to contribute to this as possible. So again, I'm just so grateful for you all showing up today. If you haven't already, post in the chat how you're arriving. I'm feeling anxious. This is something that is so important to me, and to have all of you show up today means so much. Let's see. I have Chantel, who is helping me with Zoom, because Zoom is not my forte. And so she's going to be helping me out. Because there's going to be a lot of people on this call, I do want it to be interactive. So raise your hand, pop in the chat. If I ignore you and you've already said something, you can follow up and say something again, or message me or Chantel. And then after this, there's going to be a survey. So if you don't get all of your voice in, there's going to be an opportunity to share that later. So just an overview of some of the things that we're going to talk about. I want to first introduce myself and Doula Synergy. Some of you have heard this already, some may be really new to it. And then we're going to talk about the role of a doula, broadly and specifically to doulas who support through loss. We're also going to talk about the doula database, because I think that that's the most challenging parts to finding a doula that is right for you. And then we're going to talk about marketing, partnerships, integrating this type of support into care systems, structure and funding of the organization, and then next steps. So I'd love to see who is in the room. We're not going to do introductions for everybody, but if you don't mind popping, well, yeah, we'll do the poll. We'll do the poll and the intros. So I'm curious who's in the room today. If you are a doula, medical provider, perinatal provider, mental health provider, nonprofit community organization, parent or family member, and you can select multiple categories, because I think it's important for me and all of us to know who's showing up today and who's a part of this conversation. So that's going to be up there. And then also, if you don't mind introducing yourself in the chat. So your name, your role, your organization, where you're located, and why you're here today. And I'll pop mine. Well, I'll pop in the chat what I'm asking of you. And then I'll introduce myself. Actually, Chantel, has everybody answered? No, 76%. That's cool to see. Okay, so we'll wait until everybody answers, but I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So my name's Ashley Rose Salvitti. I am a doula, a coach, an educator, an advocate, a support group facilitator, founder of Doula Synergy, and a mom. So my experiences through pregnancy, birth, postpartum, the stillbirth of my daughter Lena, pregnancy after loss, becoming a doula have helped me recognize this, in my opinion, huge gaping hole for support for families that are experiencing loss and on their journey after loss. Pregnancy after loss for me looked totally different. I had a joyful first pregnancy. So if you also had that experience, you know, like they look totally different. And that's how I became a doula. Through my work as a doula, I recognized more about what doulas do. I've trained as a birth doula, as a postpartum doula, and I'm also a pregnancy and infant loss coach through Seeds of Growth. And now that I know what our work is, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I could have needed in my pregnancy or in my postpartum after loss. And I really believe that doula support can fill a huge gap in the support for families experiencing loss. So that's what this is all about today. My business is Ashley Rose Doula. I work one-on-one with clients. And then Doula Synergy is this budding organization that we're going to talk more about. I live in Salem, Oregon, and I believe that families experiencing loss deserve better care. There are 88 people that have participated. If you haven't already, pop in the poll what your role you're showing up as today, and you can share multiple ones. I'm just gonna look at the chat real quick. Hi, Brittany, Ashley. Oh, I'm so happy all of y'all are here. Megan, Abby. Thank you all. Thank you all. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna keep us going. We've got 53% of the people here are, oh yeah, should we end the poll, Chantel? Yeah. I don't know, maybe, yeah. 53% are doulas, 20% medical or perinatal providers, 13% mental health providers, 27% nonprofit community organizations, and 47% are a parent or family member with lived experience. So almost half of us have experienced loss. That's really cool. Thank you. Okay. It's my first poll, y'all. That was fun. Okay. So we're gonna move on to sharing a little bit about Doula Synergy. And again, in the beginning, it's gonna be a lot of me talk heavy, but feel free to use the chat if you have any questions or want to share anything along the way. So Doula Synergy is a budding organization. Right now, we're fiscally sponsored through Star Legacy Foundation, which operates in 50 different states, which is really cool. And that basically means that I didn't have to create a board and do all the legwork of the stuff that I don't love to do. The burden's on Star Legacy Foundation, and we just piggyback on their 501c3 status and get to start applying for funding and build programs. So our vision is a future where families are surrounded by wraparound doula support throughout their loss experience, so they're heard, they're supported, and they're held. And so we really want to transform the loss experience, providing in-person support. I think that there's so much out there online that really speaks to this need for community support, and there's a lack of this in-person, like one-on-one support or community one-on-one support. And so we offer doula support and grief circles, and also we help to integrate this care into existing health and community systems so the support is accessible and sustainable. So the offerings I mentioned, doula-led. Sorry, I'm talking so fast. I feel like there's so much I want to share. Tell me to slow down if I'm stuttering. Extending in-person doula-led grief circles, so providing this community aspect of support, as well as a resource database for families, and then access to doulas and financial resources to make care accessible, make sure that families get the support they need, and that doulas get paid for the work that they do. Woo! Give me an amen. Bereavement training and community for doulas. So I think one of the problems is that we don't know how to find doulas that are trained in bereavement support. Most birth doulas don't have this training. And so building this training offerings and community for doulas, and then also education for providers, because the only way that we're going to integrate into systems is talking to providers and integrating it that way, and then building this nationwide doula directory of connecting families with providers and doulas across the country. That's in a nutshell. And so let's see. And we'll talk more about like each of those. That's kind of what we're discussing today. But first, I want to talk about a doula. I actually couldn't find a really good definition because a lot of the definitions are specific to reproductive health, while there are death doulas that are end of life. And there's a big difference. Some death doulas do specialize. This is a list of many types of doulas. I was just at the PSI Loss Conference, and I was so excited to hear them sharing this idea to contact a doula to support a family that was going to have to terminate for medical reasons, and they suggested hiring a death doula, and I was like, whoa, no, not exactly. Yes, death doulas definitely have the training for grief support and how to hold space and resources for burial and cremation and those type of things, yet they may not have the training for the perinatal side of loss, like when we don't have the memories, we're grieving the future of this baby that we don't have, and what it means to birth a baby that is no longer living. And so I realized that there's a lack of understanding for not only what a doula does, but what specific types of doulas do. Am I missing any types of doulas on this list that are perinatal related? Bereavement's on there. It's just at the bottom. But yes, Abby, thank you. It's perinatal loss and bereavement doulas. And that's what I'm talking. That's like the big type of doula that I'm talking about today. No, you're good. And yeah, we don't use this term, like, and that's why I think it's really important that we get together and amplify our voices, because I'm like out here like, what, is anybody else doing this? Like, why isn't this a thing? So let's keep moving on. So I'm curious. I want to share with you what I believe a bereavement doula is and does, and get some buy-in if there's anything else that I'm missing, and if there's any other names that we might call a bereavement doula. Like, I'm new at this. I am just saying this is what I see, is there's a need for bereavement doula support. So someone who walks alongside families without judgment or pressure, understands grief, holds space for all emotions without trying to fix them. A bereavement doula offers gentle guidance, explaining what's happening in the body, what to expect physically and emotionally during and after loss. Provides nurturing, hands-on care to support physical healing and postpartum recovery, including comfort measures, rest support, guidance around lactation, milk suppression or milk donation. An advocate for families' wishes, and helps them communicate with medical providers during appointments, birth and follow-up care. Provides hands-on practical support, including meals, laundry, dishes, cleaning, sibling care, pet care, coordination, so families can focus on healing and taking care of themselves. Supporting them through honoring their baby, creating meaningful memories through photos, keepsakes, rituals, and memorial spaces in a home, in a garden, through a special event or celebration of life. And then remains a steady, compassionate presence over time, offering check-ins, remembering important dates, honoring the baby, and connecting families to supportive resources as their grief evolves. Am I missing anything, Abby?
Other folks might have a lot of comments too. I love the comprehensiveness of this. I think I do a lot of later work with families, like even decades after a loss, that I don't necessarily know where that would plug in here.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I can think of to add to this list.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, because I feel like after I had my loss, there were so many people that came out of the woodwork that were like so glad to be able to talk to me about this thing that they hadn't talked about in like 20 years. And it's like they weren't allowed to then, and now they can. And now they're like creating a space to be able to honor that grief. Thank you for sharing. So I want to also point out that I haven't said yet, a lot of birth doulas that are trained in supporting pregnancy and birth and postpartum are not trained to support clients through loss. And often we miss the mark as doulas when we do not know what that looks like, what to expect, and how to support our clients. And often we can create even worse situations when we are not trained. And so I think one of the other important factors here is making sure that birth doulas and postpartum doulas are trained to support clients during loss. Because guess what? We don't plan this. And a bereavement doula, the only way, like, parents aren't looking for bereavement doulas, right? They have no fucking clue what they need. Sorry to use the F-bomb here, but I just need to emphasize that they don't know what they need. They're not going to go search and figure it out. But I believe now, from my lived experience and my experience as a doula, that this is it. So poll time. Chantel, I'm curious. Well, actually, we're going to do two polls right now. One poll is for anybody in the perinatal space that supports people through loss. I'm curious what your training is. So this is doulas, anybody that has clients that support through loss. I'm curious how much bereavement training that you've received. So whether you're a doula or anything, pop it up there, pop it up there. And if you don't support clients through loss, just ignore this one. And this is going to be tweaked because obviously you probably have an interest in perinatal loss if you're showing up here today. Yes, 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 yes. So, and I believe that like if you have training, it's because you've recognized a need to have this understanding and this knowledge in order to support your clients in the best way possible. But like there is not a standard for bereavement training for providers that I know of. And there's not like, it's not like part of the training for perinatal providers, but it should be. And so, okay, the next poll, this is the last poll for a while, is support through loss. So this is, I'm curious if you work with Chantel. The next one is loss support. And I'm curious if what you think lost families have, if they have adequate support, if in your experience, being no matter who you are, if you're a parent or if you are a provider, do we take care of our lost families? Somewhat, no, yes, you're not sure. I'm curious where you're at. And those that said yes, what are we doing what are you doing? What are you seeing that's working? Yeah, I would say 73%, 72, the numbers are shifting, but it looks like there is a lack, y'all agree, there's a lack of support for families experiencing loss. And then based on what you know or what we just talked about, a perinatal loss bereavement doula provides, do you think that this would be really helpful and make a big impact for families experiencing loss? Or a medium impact, I guess. I didn't do all of them. Yeah. So it wouldn't hurt, right? And it looks like a lot of you think that it would help. Thank you for, these are all anonymous, by the way. I don't see what you put in, but we see what the total group says. So feel free to be as honest as you want to be in here. So let's see, is there anything else I wanted to say about bereavement doula? Everybody feel clear on what the role of a doula is? Yes. Yes. I love that. Emily, I feel like having the lived experience of my loss experiences prepared me the most to support other clients. And I learned something in every new training that I do. Like, I don't know everything, and I love doing new training so that I can see other perspectives. So let's see. I met with OHSU and their fetal care team. I followed along a long time ago, and they let me know, like, so they work with clients that are getting genetic diagnoses and may decide to terminate for medical reasons, or may be carrying to term, or they may experience a death before their baby's born. So they recognize this need for doula support, right? Because all birthing people deserve doula support, but if you're going through something traumatic, especially that involves potential loss of your child, it's really important that you have that hands-on support through the whole experience. And so what they shared with me that it was really hard for them to find a doula that they knew was capable of supporting clients through loss. And so my goal, one of the first big projects of Doula Synergy, and one of the biggest goals, is to create a directory or a database where providers can find doulas that are trained specifically to support through loss, that have that training, whether it's through lived experience, through a foundational training, or through more advanced training. They know where to find them and how to contact them. And so the idea is a really robust, easily searchable, and filterable membership database that helps families get connected. And like, since there's so many specialized types of doulas, like maybe they need a NICU doula and a bereavement doula, that they have that experience. So this is my vision so far for the profile, because here's the deal. We're not going to go interview these doulas, right? Like, we need to get as much information as possible from the database so that we can feel comfortable connecting them and putting them in the hands of a family that's going through this, right? And so I think it's really important to have as much information as possible that they can feel is comfortable making that connection. And then I don't want to include availability. Like, we're not like schedule, we're not an agency, we're not scheduling, we're not the cost. I don't like including that, because it's like, I don't know. I just think that it shouldn't even be a conversation. It should just be a way for to connect. And I really want it to be accessible. Like, I don't want this to be like gatekeepy of like, if you don't pay your membership fee, you're not a part of our organization. I want like a basic membership so that it's accessible, and maybe there's like different tiers that offer different levels based on, you know, what you want to invest into it. Sorry. So I'm curious what your ideas are, or what your questions are around the doula database, and what your suggestions are. Like, what information do families and providers need to see in a doula to feel confident reaching out? Like, are all of those things important? What about membership cost? Like, what would you pay as a doula to be able to have your all of this information listed? If we have lived experience, like, what do you think about including lived experience on the database? Is that too personal? I know some people don't want to share. It can be an optional thing, but I feel like a lot of my clients want to know what my lived experience was, so that they know like what lens I'm looking through, right? Abby said, I wonder about the cost of services. Oh, I'm not even looking at hands also. I feel like if you want to, there's nobody talking. So if you want to come off and speak, you can do that. The cost of services not being listed. I would only reach out to learn more about services when I see cost. I'm not sure how widespread the idea is. Well, I think one of the things is that we want to have, like, and I don't want to make promises I can't keep, but like, I really believe that families that access doula support shouldn't have to pay for it, and that doulas should get paid. So I feel like if insurance doesn't cover it in Oregon, I'm a THW doula, and I'm allowed to bill Oregon OHP clients who've experienced loss because of the language. That's another thing like we need to think about when we are involved in conversations with like policy and advocacy. Like, making sure the language is tweaked so that it's not specific to outcomes. So I don't want it to be a deterrent, I guess is what I'm saying, for people reaching out, because I want to be able to have a fund through Doula Synergy that covers that. I know I'm dreaming, Abby, but you know what I mean? I feel like I don't want that to be a barrier, but I get that. I hear that. So thank you for sharing that. Option to share if you have lived experience, because that can make families feel more comfortable. Our services are free for doulas in hopes that we can get them connected to services like behavioral health or SUD, such treatment if needed. And also, if fathers are in need of services, they fall under peer support services. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to make it happen, but I really just feel like I don't want them to have to even like think about that. What about, do you think the database would be helpful for providers? If there's providers out there, do you think this would be helpful for you? What things are important for you to see? Is there anything that you would want to include?
I personally get reached out to by hospital chaplains often,
Uh-huh.
and I think it's a great way to give hospital chaplains a place to sort of go and look.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they're overwhelmed. They are not trained in this either, and they're overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. The cost is an important conversation. Yeah. 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 Thank you for bringing that up, Abby. Okay. Anything else about the doula database? I want to keep moving. Where are we at? We're doing okay. Anybody else want to? Yeah, doctor referrals. This would be a resource for them. Okay. I'm bouncing all over the place. I had a really hard time figuring out the order of things, but I wanted to mention one of the things that the database can showcase is the level of training and the trainings that each person has done. I offer the only training listed on Doula Synergy's website right now is mine, but Doula Synergy is the not like the plan is not to only have their own training, but to partner with different organizations to really bring a collaborative, like holistic approach to training people through loss. So the training I created is a basic foundational bereavement training for doulas on compassionate support through loss. And that's like the first thing and the only thing that I've got right now, but I really want to build this. My training, I've trained with, oh my gosh, now I'm not even going to remember. I've gotten halfway through the stillbirth day. I've done the mother tree training, the PSI training. I'm in the process of the birth, breath, and death. I've done my pregnancy and infant loss training, and then also my lived experience. And I've done my Pale Advocate. So those are like my trainings and my lived experience that go into this and my knowledge. And then with all these other trainings, we build this like robust gold standard for bereavement support. So the idea is eventually to have a certification for doulas that support bereavement doulas that really clearly defines what a bereavement doula is and brings in this level of certification that's like this person has done all of these things, and those can be highlighted on the directory. Any questions or ideas about that, especially people that already have a certification program? And also how we integrate ideas for integrating other certifications into this. Yeah. definitely list training and experience on the database. Speaking of the database, does anybody have any really good website people that they want to refer to me? Okay, oh, really? Megan, I appreciate you. As part of the database, can people share training and certification options and recommendations? I don't know what you mean about that. What do you mean, Chantel? You mean, oh yeah, like as part of their profile, have what their training is. Yeah, this is all the stuff that I want to have on their education, training, and certifications is on their profile. I want to have it as much information on their profile as possible and really like access it, like links. And I think the different membership options will have different levels of tiers of what your profile includes. Does that answer your question? That's my vision, but let me know what y'all think. Okay. Okay, so as I mentioned, my goal is, I think that it's really important that we really come together and find a way to amplify this voice, this movement of bereavement support through loss together. And I just have some of the organizations that I've been connected to, or I think would be good fits to connect with. Doula Synergy in partnering organizations. So whether you're a training organization, a doula organization, bereavement, whatever, bereavement, whatever, I feel like this is an opportunity for us to really build and amplify each other's message and strengths. So let's see, what questions do I have here? Oh, and then marketing. So that's like, I found myself going into like Salem Health and being like, I'm a bereavement doula. I support through loss. And I feel like I'm educating on my own to promote myself, and also like felt really like alone in that. And like I had to do more than just share my information, because like I really needed to educate the the hospital about what a bereavement doula is and what we are all about. And so I think one of the main goals of Doula Synergy is to work together to build marketing materials for bereavement doulas and what our value is. And it might be through storytelling, through like a video. I think that we have a hard time sharing what even a doula is. I cannot tell you how many people say, "Oh, I didn't know what the difference is between a doula and a midwife." Completely different. Like, we do not do any medical support. A midwife is a provider. They deliver babies, And so if there's that lack of understanding of what just a doula is in the medical sphere and components, people have no idea what a bereavement doula is. And so I think that Doula Synergy, one of the big goals is to work together to market that and move that as a organization together. And one of the ways that we're going to do that is through storytelling. If you have any suggestions, like think that stories, if you have any clients that, or like as a bereavement doula or somebody who's experienced loss or family member or provider, if you have any situations that would be really good testimonials for bereavement doula support, please, please, please share them with me. I sent a proposal to speak at the PSI conference in 2026 to clarify what a bereavement doula is, and because of that comment at the death doula at the loss thing. And I think it's really important, especially for perinatal providers, to know what bereavement doulas do. But my point is, I'm thinking about putting together like a video of like sharing what a bereavement doula does and stories that help kind of prove that. So if y'all in the follow-up survey, if you have any experiences, maybe you can reach out to past clients or friends or family members. Like I have a friend that like isn't trained as a doula, but was my doula through my miscarriage. And like if she wasn't sitting next to me and like advocating for me in a time where like I couldn't even think and like telling the ER nurse like you need to look at her before you send her home, I don't know what would have happened because I went right back to surgery as soon as they looked at me, but I would have just gone home. Like, so she would have been, you know, some situations like that where like having somebody that was there to support you through loss in the ways that a bereavement doula supported through loss, I think can also count. What else? Any questions, any thoughts, any ideas? Marketing partnerships, where's my list? What would a mutually beneficial partnership look like with Doula Synergy and partnering organizations? Any ideas for those that are aligned, especially those that are training organizations? Like what would you hope to gain through partnering with Doula Synergy? Any ideas? Oh, Crystal, you're gonna make me cry. Thank you. Yeah. Yep. Cool, cool. Okay. What else? Is there any research out there? I found one. Does anybody know of any research out there that has been done on bereavement doula support? Because I think another one of, you know, when you, I guess this kind of goes into the next subject, but there was one research study I want to share with y'all. Hold on. I wasn't planning on sharing this, but the expansion of doula support services for reproductive loss. This is a research-based study that Anna, Sarah, Sai, and Bridget did at the University of Michigan. And it really highlights the value of doula support through loss. And I think this kind of research, and Abby, I know you've got the research, you got a lot of research under your belt, my dear. Having the knowledge and the like proof of, yeah, we say that it's helpful, but like how is it helpful and how can we prove that doula support through loss is a really critical component of care. So I think having a place where we share these resources and then also as we think about funding, we can utilize, you know, all that stuff. So that's our next topic of discussion. Oh, wait, no, it's not our next topic of discussion, the grief circles. So I just want to share a little bit about the grief circles that we do and why we do them, because one of the reasons we do them is to provide a resource, in-person resource for families, and anybody that's experienced loss knows how important that social aspect is for being in community with others who've experienced loss. These spaces are doula-led, and so it's not like, you know, it's kind of like peer support because most of the doulas that we have have lived experience, and it's not like a therapy based thing. It's just very open for connection, and we also offer like meditation and creative expression and different topics. We have them monthly, and the idea is that it provides a really easy entry point for us to share what bereavement doulas do, and provide a connection with a provider. So we can market our grief circles. They have a grief circle, which is a free resource that they can provide to any families experiencing loss. The person experiencing loss shows up to the grief circle. It's hosted by a doula. The doula can share what a bereavement doula does so that that person can be also connected face to face with somebody that could potentially provide support. And so it increases awareness and the trust in doula support. And it's held in partnership with local community organizations. So we've partnered with Compass Perinatal, Family Peer Support. Oh my gosh, I always get the name wrong. Sorry, Kat. But they've sponsored our grief circles so that our facilitators can be paid, and it's still a free resource for the family, because this work has got to be sustainable. And I think it's important that people that are supporting families through loss, I've already mentioned this, like, it cannot be a volunteer kind of a thing. It has to be somebody that has a full cup, that is doing this, that has scheduled this on their schedule, that is getting compensated fairly so that they can show up presently and fully for these families. Whew. What else? Okay. I'm really bouncing all over the place. I really thought about how I could make this systematic, but I'm bouncing all over the place. So the integration into care systems, that is our grief circle, is the way that we are able to integrate into the care systems by connecting with providers and offering a free resource for their communities. And the thing is, our providers, like our families, are not going to be going and looking up, what do I need right now? They have no idea. They're overwhelmed with choices and decisions and emotions and logistics and all of this stuff. And it is not the only way. And if anybody has any other ideas for how we can do this, the only way to do this, to get families the support they need, is to integrate it into care systems. So this is a really important aspect of Doula Synergy, I believe. Share. Is there a way that it's working really well right now? Because I am starting slow, and I feel like I'm really having to work hard to like introduce this idea. Is anybody here that is a bereavement doula? Where do you get your referrals? Where do you get your clients? Like, how do people hear about you? Anyone want to share? Word of mouth, friends, providers, internet searches, doctors and OBGYN offices. Yes. So integrating it into the care. So my idea so far is we partner with Doula Synergy. This is what a bereavement doula, or to offer bereavement doulas for families at no cost. Would you be interested in having a bereavement doula reach out to you via text? And then they get a permissions form, and that's all. We just get their contact info. Maybe the nurse provides some additional information, and then somebody reaches out, and it's like a warm handoff. Like, that's my idea, but I'm curious to see what else, like, how do we integrate? I don't really know the best practices, but I'm open to hearing what has worked for you. Like, when the doctors reach out, how do they reach out, and how do you get connected to the clients?
Hey, Ashley.
Hi.
So I do it a little differently. What I've noticed,
Yeah.
most doctors and nurses do not know that bereavement doulas exist.
Right. Yeah.
The doulas do,
Uh-huh.
if they've been trained or if they know somebody.
Yeah.
So typically what will happen for me is I'll have birth doulas reach out because
Mhm.
they know that I support them.
Mhm.
Like I support the losses. Another thing that I do is I walk the doulas through how to support with emergency call line.
Mhm.
So like if they're not trained, they can call me and they could, for 30 minutes, we talk and then I create a plan for them and I send it to them. And that's kind of how I go about it. But I've never had a referral from a doctor or a nurse.
Yeah.
And trying to get into the systems are the hardest part,
Yeah.
because I don't know what you guys have experienced, but here in Illinois, there's a lot of gatekeeping.
Yeah.
And literally, there's an in-between for the people who actually make the decisions and us. And a lot of the times, the emails I get back are like, yep, I sent your information. If they haven't gotten to you, they're not interested.
Yeah.
End of story. You
Yeah.
don't get a chance to like explain. We don't get a
Yeah.
chance to show our passion and like really
Yeah.
help them understand.
Yeah.
Because an email
Yeah.
and things like that don't work.
Yeah.
The other thing I don't know if you've connected with Trina Perkins. She is the owner of her and her co-founder. I might have to give you the information later. Bereavement
Yeah.
boxes or something.
Yeah.
But Trina, she has this really amazing newsletter and she sends it out every week. She is the most consistent human being I've ever met. It's amazing. Every week like clockwork. And hers is strictly like she supports the medical side.
Yeah.
And so they are working, from what I've gathered from the emails, they're working on getting a text line set up for the hospitals so that they can do that continuity of care after they leave the hospital.
Yeah.
So that is another area that we could connect with.
Yeah. Awesome.
To that point.
Thank you, Fallon.
Yeah.
Ashley, what do you think? Because you've been on the medical side of it. Sorry to call you out right now, but I'm curious what your perspective is on that, on how we integrate it into care systems. If you don't want to talk, you don't have to.
I do want to talk, but my kids just stopped home to pick up their
Okay.
stuff. I will come
That's
back
okay.
in 5 minutes or less.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay. Michelle, you're on the list of support resources that the hospital gives out. That's amazing. That is amazing. How did you get that? I think that like it really needs to be a relationship. Like I feel like I'm so close at Salem Health now. They've been giving out the grief circles, and that's one way that they can kind of it gives it's free, and it's for the community. So I feel like I'm just now starting to be recognized and trusted. Yeah, I think it takes time. But I think maybe if we come together and create some marketing materials about what a bereavement doula is, and maybe like a really short video with like amazing testimonials that tells a story that really highlights from a provider perspective the holes, right? Like for me, I had amazing support in the hospital, right? Like I felt cared for. I felt loved. I felt supported. I had people around me. Like I had all my questions answered. And then I went home to nothing, right? Like to my entire life that looked entirely different than it did when I left it, right? My breasts were engorged. My floors were accumulating dust. The food in the fridge was dying. The flowers were all the stuff. And so it's really like they recognize that there is a hole. Like a lot of people don't show up like for the postpartum supports. Like, are there any things that y'all can think about that providers that might be helpful words or like things that a provider would recognize as a need that we can really highlight in our communication to them as we try to connect? I mean, is it not worth it at all to try? I think it's worth it. Oh, keep an eye on your wife. Things are going to get worse. So call us if you need help. Oh, yeah. They know that you're like leaving. Yeah. Yeah. Unhelpful. Grief informed lactation resources. Yes. And that is something that bereavement doulas should be trained in. That's good. Yeah. Department of Family Services, the midwives gave them my number and they use me frequently for their clients. Great. That's awesome. Okay. Any other, yeah, kind of continuing care after the hospital discharge. And maybe like, what is the reason why they don't? Because a simple resource they could share for people experiencing loss upon discharge. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Okay. I'd love to share some of what I've seen on the medical side. I think I think there's a lot of desensitization from medical providers, doctors, nurses, and they honestly, and of course, this isn't every single one, right? But there can be a lot of dismissal in terms of really trying to go above and beyond and connect their patients to the bereavement support. I think the taboo around perinatal loss still exists, and it's just deeply ingrained. I think educating providers on this type of support would be a huge step. Like how you said, Ashley, you're hoping to present at the PSI conference. Like that right there, things along those lines, getting into these conferences where we can talk about this support, what that looks like, why it's important. I love that testimonial idea. The reason that I get referrals from the doctors in outpatient and inpatient settings is from having that relationship with them, where they understand what that support looks like.
Yeah.
They have seen firsthand me supporting these lost families, and then it clicks. They understand that value. So I think it's going to be that slow build. Right? You got to like break into one doctor and then it gets into another. And the more that it gets out there, again, with like presentations and meetings and that education component too, being able to provide education to the providers, in the hospital, even if it's a small, 1 hour webinar, that kind of thing, just making those connections and continuing to be able to have the conversations. And yeah, just kind of keep it. It's the trust thing. I think, doulas versus providers, there's still some distrust there in general, where some providers don't necessarily understand how wonderful doula support can be. So just, again, kind of that's been a little my experience. And I do think it is possible. It just might be a slow moving climb.
Yeah. Chantel said discharge resources typically need to be vetted and approved. They fear legal consequences and liability of referrals. That's interesting. I'm curious what the vetting process is, like who is approving this? How do we get to the big people? Anyway, thank you all for your input on this. Easy and quick. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I want to make sure that we have enough time to finish up here. So we talked about the grief circles and the care. What am I doing? Okay. Organizational structure and funding. So I didn't have to create a board to Doula Synergy is just a project right now, but I want it to grow. I don't know that it'll be a fiscal sponsored project through Star Legacy Foundation forever. I'm curious, and I've never worked for a nonprofit or been a part of a nonprofit or collective. I'm curious what your ideas are for organizational structure, how to develop a mission, vision, values, aligned structure that supports collaboration, sustainability, and equitable access to doula-led loss care. Any ideas? And yeah, is anybody a part of an organization that is similar to this, where it kind of brings together many entities and people and in a way that really works? Or any suggestions? I'm like, yes, membership costs would go toward funding to pay doulas for providing support. It would be one of the things. It's one of the ways that membership costs would go towards all aspects of the program. I mean, I think actually when we're talking about funding, I haven't really thought about specifically if we're trying to generate money here, if it's going to go to this or this or this. But Doula Synergy, the goal is to be able to put together these marketing materials. One of the big ones is like the directory, the marketing materials. I'm going to need some money to like build this directory too. My doula salary is not paying for it. So we got to get some income to be able to create the directory, and then membership will go towards anything that is needed for the organization. So, and one of the things is a fund for paying doulas to make sure that they get paid for supporting clients through loss if insurance doesn't cover it. Does insurance cover it where y'all are? Yeah, becoming a 501c3 makes it easier to get grant funding and hold, but that's a bigger. Well, we right now we can do grant funding through Star Legacy Foundation. And the cool thing is that they're in all 50 states. So if you all are a part of Doula Synergy, we can apply for grants in your state to fund doulas, any programs that align with this mission. Depends on the week gestation. Okay. And any ideas for funding that that is out there, or grant opportunities? This is
I have
all,
to say,
yeah.
personally, sorry, I know a lot of us self-fund ourselves. It's really difficult so far, what I've found, and the continuity of care pilot program that I'm working on is utilizing that postpartum, the Medicaid postpartum, um, just paying for it through the postpartum Medicaid.
Yeah.
But this is where we have to learn more about, sorry, I have two little ones behind me. They're not going to be good. We have to learn about how to bill. So we need to learn more about becoming Medicaid doulas in general.
Yeah.
But I've emailed, what is it? SIU, I can't think of they're one of the universities here in Illinois that helped create the Medicaid doula program.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent an email asking them how we can get bereavement service covered for up to a year, because postpartum is covered up to a year.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of I need to do this we know that even when you lose a baby, you're going to go through postpartum. Mm-hmm. It should be considered that. Mm-hmm. So getting our doula services covered through that specific code or whatever, mm-hmm. we need to learn more about how to do that and how to make that a thing. Mm-hmm. Especially for people who cannot self-pay. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not the only way to get our doulas paid, but I think it's going to be one of the bigger ways. But to do that, we also got to get them on board with how good it'll make them look. It's going to be a whole, progress. I don't know what's covered necessarily in every single state under postpartum, but like Abby said too, it can depend on gestation. I work with a lot of military families because I was a military spouse when I had my loss. So like I know specifically for them, they have an SGLI insurance policy. If your baby dies after 20-week gestation at a certain weight, you will get a $10,000 payout. But families do not know that. They don't want to pay that out. So there's a lot of, I think, things we have to utilize and figure out. It's a lot of educating. That's what everything is coming down to, is like educating people on everything and ourselves too.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Valen. I think there's some hesitation for some doulas to become, for us Medicaid, it's like a THW, and it's a lot of freaking work, like you have to go through lots of hoops, and some people don't want to go through that yet. I did it. Like, I think it's important to be able to serve those families that fall in that category. And it's really helpful. I was able to bill for a DNC recently, and that was like the first time the Providence had ever done that. And I had to argue like it is still a birth. And so it really sets the foundation for future times. And I feel like I'm starting to get the ball rolling with educating even the insurance companies, because like insurance companies are new at offering postpartum support or covering postpartum support. And so like it takes some education to be like, hey, wait. But I actually haven't seen bereavement support like covered by insurance. Have you? Like, there is bereavement support? Yeah? Okay. Interesting. I'm billing as like a birth doula or as for insurance, but I need to like look into what bereavement programs they cover, because I didn't even think about that.
I think they're just the same programs. So the Haven doulas that we've had do this, it's just that they're billing as a birth doula, but the
Oh,
birth is a lost birth and
oh,
therefore
oh,
still
okay,
birth. But
okay,
in some states, any birth will count for coverage. In some states, it depends on the week gestation,
yeah,
but a birth doula can bill as a birth
yeah,
doula,
yeah,
regardless of outcome of birth in some
yeah.
places.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I really appreciate y'all showing up today and being a part of this conversation. And I'm curious where we're at, how this is landing for those of you that are still with me. Chantel, would you mind popping up that poll? I'm curious how this is landing for you, and how aligned you feel with Doula Synergy's mission, vision, and approach. Yay, I got 110. Again, this is totally anonymous. So cool. There's one on the 3. I am curious who you're at, where you're at, or what about it is not landing. So, if there's an approach that's holding you back. But there's going to be a follow-up survey. That's going to be important because I really want to this has been recorded. There were 83 people that registered. So some people are going to be watching this later and be able to contribute later. So I'm curious, now that we've talked, what is your biggest takeaway, or action item that you feel inspired to do or share in your community after today? Pop that in the chat. And then let's see. Thank you. Yeah, my goal is I want to get the site, I want to get the database done by June. I know that's a little bit of a, it's right around the corner, but yes, yes. What else? So I'm growing Doula Synergy. I don't want to do this myself. I'm curious who wants to be a part of this organization and in what capacity you want to be a part of this organization. Maybe you're just an advocate, you're following along, you're, on board with what we're doing. Maybe you want to be one of the founding doulas, you want to be an ambassador or a provider or sponsor, or training partner. Maybe you want to take on board member once we start, doing that, or committee leader or member. So there will be some information about how you can be a part of Doula Synergy in a follow-up email. And I would love for you to follow along on Instagram if you can. We are, if you're not following already, at Doula Synergy on Instagram, and there's a post on transforming the perinatal loss experience. Oh, it was there. But if you don't mind commenting, follow Doula Synergy and comment. I'm going to give away my foundational bereavement training to somebody that comments today, whoever is interested. And I know that you all are bereavement trained, but maybe you can gift it to somebody or just expand your knowledge as well. And then our next meeting, I realized that I put so much into this, and we're not going to solve all the problems, but this is a really good place to start and a way for me to kind of connect with you all and bring us together to share conversations and knowledge and experiences. I'd like to meet again. So if you're interested in keeping this conversation going, I'd like to do another one at the last Wednesday of April, and we'll continue the conversation then. So I'm really, really, really grateful for you all showing up today and for all the work that you do and for your conversation. And I think that together we can do so much more than we are doing on our own. And that's kind of my whole goal here. And yeah, one word close. How you feeling? You can take the training. I also have one for friends and family members, but you can take the training even if you're not a doula, but it is geared towards doula. Still eager, thankful, motivated. Yay. Is there anything I left out? Anything anybody wants to share before we close? Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for all of y'all showing up and dedicating an hour and 10 minutes of your life. And I really hope this is the start of something big. And I really believe, I can't tell you when I was like, oh my gosh, doula support is the critical missing component of care for families experiencing loss. That's it. And it took me 2 years to figure it out. And now that I've figured it out, I just want to run with it. So thank you all for being here today. I'm really excited to see this grow and continue the conversation. And I hope to see you all soon.